isang silanganan. Alon ng puso sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang inirang, duyan ka ng magiting. Sa manluluti, di ka pasisiil. Sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mong tuhaw. May dalagang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang isap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagniningning. Ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may di magdinig. Lupa ng araw ng walhati pupunta, may langit sa piling ko. Aming ligaya na pag may pangalit at mamatay ng dahil sa'yo.
Bago pa man magsimulang tumigil ang mundo ng dahil sa pandemya, napakadami na namin ginaharap para lang magampanan ang aming tungkulin. Matugunan ang pangangailangan na nakararami. Simula sa lungkot na dala ng pagsampa, hanggang sa iba't ibang klaseng trabaho na dinaranas namin sa araw-araw. Kalakip ang pangako ng magandang bukas. Patuloy kaming babangon para matugunan ang inyong pangangailangan. Patuloy namin iaalay ang aming oras at kakayahan para mapanatili kayong nakangiting. Patuloy kaming maglalayag sa iba't ibang dako ng mundo upang mapanatiling maayos ang inyong kalagayan. Yan lang kami sa lipu-lipong manggagawa sa karagatan na nagnanais ng karampatang pagtrato at respeto. Para sa aming napiling larangan, sana sa araw na ito nilaan para sa amin, maisip rin kami. Nagmamahal, mga marinong Pilipino.
San Miguel Corporation's Skyway Stage 3 project is a game-changing development that ushers a turning point for Philippine economic growth. Completed under the term of President Rodrigo Roa Duterte, whose leadership and political will paved the way for the resolution of right-of-way issues that once hampered its development. Skyway 3 is a testament to what can be achieved when people work together for the greater good. For SMC President Ramon S. Ang, Skyway Stage 3 gives a much-needed boost to the country's economic outlook in this time of the pandemic and provides a significant impact on a nationwide scale. Stretching 18 kilometers from Buendia, Makati, all the way to the North Luzon Expressway, it fulfills the dream of connecting North and South Luzon. By doing so, it will greatly reduce traffic on EDSA, the country's busiest thoroughfare, and for so many generations, the only link from North and South until today. An engineering marvel, dreamed up and built by Filipinos for Filipinos, Skyway Stage 3 is the longest elevated expressway in the country. In an industry first, it also features 3 double-decker sections, an engineering solution to severe limitations to space along some of the densest, busiest parts of the metro. In completing the project, San Miguel Corporation funded the rebuilding of 3 major bridges: the San Juan Bridge, Concordia Bridge, and Sevilla Bridge. Rivers in these areas were dredged and cleaned. With the Skyway Stage 3, travel time from Alabang to the North Luzon Expressway is now just a 30-minute breeze through a high-quality anti-slip asphalt road from the usual 3 hours in traffic along EDSA. Buendia to NLEX will only take 15 minutes. Taken together with the existing Skyway 1 and 2, the Skyway 3 extends the Skyway system to 38 kilometers and now provides access to most major Metro Manila cities. With the upcoming completion of the Skyway Extension Project that will provide direct access from Susana Heights in Muntinlupa, the Skyway system will have a total of 36 access points, making travel more convenient for many Filipinos. Together with the NAIA Expressway, Skyway provides direct connectivity to Muntinlupa, Las Piñas, Parañaque, Pasay, Makati, Manila, San Juan, and Quezon City. Skyway 3 also connects to the C3 Road, providing access to Navotas, Caloocan, Quezon City, San Juan, Makati, and Pasay. More significantly, Skyway 3 bridges the gap between the South Luzon Expressway and North Luzon Expressway, unlocking the true potential of our provinces by further enabling transportation, tourism, and trade. With direct access to more markets, our agriculture sector and many local industries are set to get a major boost from this game-changing infrastructure project. New economic zones and major manufacturing hubs, both in northern and southern Luzon, will also greatly benefit from faster, easier, safer connectivity. San Miguel Corporation's next major infrastructure project, the Pasig River Expressway, which will connect to the Skyway, will complete the north-south and east-west link in Metro Manila. A 19-kilometer elevated expressway along the banks of the Pasig River, Parex will connect Manila to Rizal Province and provide faster alternative access to Makati, Ortigas, and BGC. The project will also realize the long-held dream of cleaning up and rehabilitating the Pasig River. Finally, Skyway 3 is envisioned to connect directly to what will be the Philippines' largest, most modern airport, the Manila International Airport in Bulacan, another game-changing project by San Miguel Corporation. The airport, to be designed and built sustainably, will also be future-proof. It will have 4 parallel runways to eliminate the delays and inefficiencies that have become the norm in Philippine aviation, which have cost both our government and our people billions in opportunity losses. Skyway Stage 3 is a major achievement for Filipinos. As with any major undertaking, it would not have been possible without the support and cooperation of many stakeholders, past and present. In particular, San Miguel Corporation expresses its gratitude to President Rodrigo Duterte for his vision and strong leadership and the support provided by his economic team to ensure its completion, particularly in settling contentious right-of-way issues. SMC also credits DPWH and the Metro Pacific Tollways Group under Mr. Manny V. Pangilinan for making the direct connection to NLEX possible. San Miguel also cites Meralco and National Grid Corporation of the Philippines for their cooperation in enabling the transfer of utility lines, which help pave the way for the project's completion. For San Miguel Corporation, this is just the beginning, as it continues to invest in vital infrastructure projects. This includes the completion of MRT 7, SLEX TR4 and TR5, which will extend all the way to Matnog, Sorsogon. T-Plex Extension to Lawag, Ilocos Norte. And the Pasig River Expressway, which connects Eastern and Western Metro Manila and making access to our financial districts easier and faster. At this critical time in our country's history, San Miguel Corporation is committed to investing primarily in the Philippines to accelerate growth and create more jobs and help build a better future for all.
You asked for it. Now Yale has delivered it. The new Yale MX series. Bring all your material handling needs under control. Optimized productivity. Intelligent ergonomics. Best-in-class serviceability. Substantially lower cost of ownership. Total dependability. Take control with the Yale MX series.
Casino Filipino is one with PAGCOR at the forefront of upholding the Philippine government's nation-building efforts. PAGCOR, together with Casino Filipino, allocates a part of its income through the underprivileged sectors of society. While more than half of the PAGCOR's revenues go to the government, at the end of the day, the real mission is to serve the nation and help build a sustainable future for Filipinos. Together, we create opportunities beyond gaming.
Yan? Nabayaran na ba yung internet?
Yes. At nakabayad na ako ng kuryente at nakapag-transfer na din ako ng sweldo nila ate.
Nag-QR payment na ako para sa lunch date natin mamaya. Mas madali, mas masasandalan ang bagong PNB Digital App. Download now!
Sa PNB, Philippine National Bank. Sa PNB, Philippine National Bank.
Our love was so beautiful, nothing could tear us apart. A picture of forever and promises made from the heart. But memories fade as time slips away. Where does that leave me and you? Tell me how to love you with no more regrets. Now cherish these moments, the memories you'll never forget. The memories you'll never.
I may sometimes forget you here, but never here.
The memories you'll never forget.
Great sunny morning to everyone. It has been more than a year now since the pandemic struck. The National Capital Region has been placed under general community quarantine anew, again putting pressure to the business community and the economy in general. How has the economy performed in the first semester of the year and what lies ahead towards the rest of the year and beyond. With us are a host of experts and business luminaries who will give us their views as well as their outlook on the Philippine economy and the business environment. Welcome to the Manila Times Midyear Economic Report. I am Ray Lugtu, your host for today, CEO of Hungry Workhorse and business columnist for Manila Times. To formally open our virtual event and introduce our keynote speaker is the President and CEO of the Manila Times. Please welcome Mr. Dante Clink Ang II.
Thank you, Ray, and good morning, everyone. As you said, this is a major economic report of the Manila Times and one of the most anticipated business fora that we hold every year. Before we start, let me greet our speakers this morning. Our keynote, of course, today is Governor Benjamin Diokno of the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. He'll be followed by a reactor, Mr. Arnulfo Wick Veloso, President and CEO of the Philippine National Bank. He is also President of the Bankers Association of the Philippines. And then finally, our last speaker will be Aftab Ahmed, the country head and city country officer of Citibank. This event would not be possible without the support of a number of organizations. So let me thank them also this morning. The co-sponsors are San Miguel Corporation, AL Track Philippines Incorporated, the Philippine Amusement and Gaming Corporation, or PAGCOR. We wish to thank also our special partners, the Philippine National Bank, Citibank, Union Bank of the Philippines, City Savings Bank, Moneybees, and Hungry Horse. And of course, our organizational partners, the British Chamber, the French Chamber, the Davao Chamber of Commerce, Phoenix, the Italian Chamber, MAP, and of course, our media partner, the Manila Times TV. When the year started, there was great anticipation of a robust rebound following the GDP contraction 2020. Earlier in the year, we heard from our governor, who gave us an encouraging report that this year the Philippines may experience a GDP growth rate of between 6.5% and 7.5%. Of course, as you said, there is still the pandemic, and right after that forum, the Metro Manila went on a lockdown because of a new surge. And as you said earlier, we are facing heightened restrictions again beginning August 1 because of the Delta surge that we are experiencing throughout the country. And so, as we know, the pandemic is perhaps the greatest obstacle to an economic recovery, and we are all keen on how the Philippines and of course the rest of the world will climb out of this hole. So let me end there because I know everyone is eager to hear from our governor and other speakers. And let me just wish everybody a good morning and a productive day. Thank you, Greg. To get to our first speaker, let me now introduce our keynote, Governor Benjamin Diokno. Prior to his appointment, he served as Budget Secretary from 2016 to 2019. On his third tour of duty at the Department of Budget and Management, he pursued an expansionary fiscal policy to finance investments in human capital development and public infrastructure. As governor, he's not only pursuing the BSP mandates of price stability, financial stability, and an efficient payments and settlement system, but also endeavors to bring central banking closer to the people. One of his primary thrusts is to champion digital payments and aims to shift 50% of retail payment transactions to digital ones by the end of his term. His policy expertise and research contribution extend to various areas of public economics, such as the structure and scope of government, tax policies and reforms, public expenditure management analysis, fiscal decentralization, national budget and public debt, among other topics. He has extensive experience in implementing reforms in the public sector, having also served as the Budget Undersecretary from 1986 to 1991 and Budget Secretary from 1998 to 2001. He's Professor Emeritus of the University of the Philippines in Diliman. For over more than 40 years, he taught the following courses: public sector economics, microeconomics, macroeconomics, development economics, and special topics, including public enterprises investment and pricing policies, public sector reforms, local government finance, and others. He was also chairman of the Board of Trustees of the Pamantasan ng Lungsod ng Manila. He served as the fiscal advisor to the Philippine Senate, also served as chairman and CEO of the Philippine National Oil Company and chairman of the Local Water Utilities Administration. Some of his major policy reform contributions include providing technical assistance to the 1986 tax reform program to simplify the income tax system and introduce the value-added tax, helping design the 1991 Local Government Code of the Philippines, initiating What You See is What You Get policy to streamline the release of funds, sponsoring internationally lauded Government Procurement Reform Act to modernize, regulate, and standardize government procurement activities in the Philippines. He served as an advisor and consultant to various multilateral agencies like the World Bank, the Asian Development Bank, the European Commission, and USAID for work in the Philippines, China, and transitioning economies like Vietnam, Cambodia, and Mongolia. He has also participated in numerous international conferences hosted by the IMF, ADB, World Bank, APEC, UN, among other international organizations. Beyond this, he has authored numerous publications and discussion papers regarding his research interests and have been published in academic journals and policy reports. Finally, he finished his bachelor's degree in public administration from the University of the Philippines in 1968, earned his master's degree in public ad in 1970 and economics in 1974 from the same university. He holds a Master of Arts in Political Economy from the Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore, Maryland, and a PhD in economics from the Maxwell School of Citizenship and Public Affairs in Syracuse University in Syracuse, New York. Good morning, Governor Jokno.
Thanks, Klink, for that introduction. And good morning, everyone. It is a pleasure to join you in this business forum. As you know, the COVID-19 pandemic adversely affected businesses and households. Quarantine restrictions inhibited spending, resulting in billions of lost income. Since the onset of the pandemic, the government has implemented various measures to mitigate the spread of the virus and restore lost economic output. Although risk remains among the discovery of new COVID variants, recent macroeconomic developments have shown encouraging signs that the economic recovery is underway. As I will discuss in the succeeding slides, the BSP affirms its support to the economy for as long as necessary to ensure its strong and sustainable recovery. Now, these are the topics that I will cover in my presentation. First, I will start with a discussion on the state of the Philippine economy. Next, I will discuss the BSP's current monetary policy stance and key considerations that fed into our most recent policy meeting. I will also share with you some sectoral updates and the BSP's policy measures to support these sectors. And finally, I will end with some key takeaways and the BSP's way forward. The economy continues to recover gradually. For the first quarter of 2021, real GDP contracted at a relatively subdued rate of 4.2%. While the first quarter growth rate was slower than expected, green shoots of recovery can already be observed in some sectors, such as in manufacturing. The continued safe reopening of the economy and the calibrated reimposition of lockdown restrictions where necessary contributed to this gradual improvement. Moving on to the high-frequency indicators monitored by the BSP, the Purchasing Managers Index, or PMI, and mobility indicators suggest that economic activity is gradually recovering. On a month-on-month basis, mobility indicators and the composite PMI significantly improved in April and May 2021, showing signs of partial restoration of economic activity in the manufacturing and services sectors. The increasing mobility is a welcome development to our consumption-driven economy. However, there are still risks to our growth outlook as the presence of the Delta coronavirus variant might give rise to renewed restrictions, similar to what is happening in select cities in Asia, Europe, and Oceania. The unemployment rate declined to 7.7% in May from 8.7% in April. Total employment increased to 44.7 million from 43.3 million in April, as mobility improved due to the reimposition of less stringent lockdown measures in mid-May. All major economic sectors posted net job gains on a month-on-month basis as easing lockdown measures enabled businesses to resume operations and increase production capacities. The overall labor market condition improved as the government applied more strategic risk-based restrictions. Furthermore, the labor force participation rate improved to 64.6% in May 2021 from 63.2% in April. The unemployment rates for the first 5 months of the year are within the government's target range of 7 to 9% for 2021. We expect the labor market to moderately improve in the succeeding months as high-frequency indicators point to better economic prospects in June and July. Now, the overall business confidence index, or the CI, decreased to 1.4% in the second quarter of 2021 and 31.4% for third quarter of the year, but remained positive and optimistic. The upsurge of COVID-19 cases, reimposition of stricter lockdown measures, and elevated inflation rate due to supply constraints led to the dampening of the overall business confidence index. On the other hand, consumer sentiment continued to improve in the second quarter of 2021 as the overall confidence index increased to negative 30.9% from negative 34.7% in the first quarter. Moreover, consumer expectations for the third quarter is positive at 1.3%. Consumers' optimism significantly improved in the back of increasing availability of jobs, reopening of businesses, and rising access to COVID-19 vaccines. Looking now at price levels, the year-on-year headline inflation declined to 4.1% in June 2021 from 4.5% in May. Inflation decelerated as food inflation continued to slow down amid the government's efforts of addressing supply-side issues. Inflation expectations remain well anchored to target. Results of the BSP survey of private sector economies conducted in June showed steady mean inflation forecast for 2021 at 4.1%. Meanwhile, the mean inflation forecast for 2022 and 2023 are at 3.2% and 3.1% respectively. Analysts expect inflation to gradually move towards the government's target range in 2021, with risk to the inflation outlook generally tilted to the upside on expectations that the continued global vaccine rollout will help further reopen economies. Needless to say, inflation expectations remain firmly anchored to the government's target of 2 to 4% for 2022 and 2023. Meanwhile, credit activity remains weak as measures to address the still elevated number of COVID-19 cases constrain domestic economic activity and continue to dampen market sentiment. Banks remain risk-averse as gross non-performing loans increased to 4.5% in May, up from 4.4% in April. Lockdown restrictions inhibited the ability of households and firms to meet their financial obligations. And as a result, the NPL coverage ratio of the banking system declined to 80% in May from 81.5% in April. Despite the recent increase in NPLs, Philippine banks remain well capitalized. As of the first quarter of 2021, the capital adequacy ratio, or CAR, of the banking system is at 16.9%. well above the 10% minimum threshold set by the BSP. The country's external sector indicators show promising signs of recovery. The sustained rebound in key economies has spurred external demand. The country's exports of goods increased by 11.1% in the first quarter of 2021. Similarly, imports of goods grew by 10% on stronger domestic demand for raw materials. Net foreign direct investments for the first 4 months of the year increased due to positive foreign investor sentiment on the country's macroeconomic fundamentals and strong growth prospects. The gross international reserves, or GIR, which stood at $106 billion as of June 2021, continued to provide adequate external liquidity buffer. At this level, the GIR represents a more than adequate external liability buffer equivalent to 12.1 months worth of imports of goods and payments of services and primary income. The GIR is supported by the resilient inflows of cash remittances from overseas workers. Remittances amounted to $2.4 billion in May, 13.1% higher than the previous year's $2.1 billion. Now let us now go to the BSP's current monetary policy stance. Given a manageable inflation path, the BSP kept the key policy interest rate at 2% in its recent policy review on June 24, 2021. Economic activity has improved in recent weeks, but the overall momentum of the economic recovery remains tentative as the threat of COVID-19 infections continues. Nevertheless, the sustained implementation of targeted fiscal incentives, as well as the acceleration of the government's vaccination program, should help boost market confidence and recovery of the economy in the coming months. The BSP believes that sustained monetary policy support for domestic demand should help the economic recovery gain more traction. Looking ahead, the BSP is committed to support the economy for as long as needed to ensure its strong and sustainable recovery. The BSP will also remain vigilant against any emerging risk to the outlook for inflation and growth, and will adjust its policy settings as needed to safeguard its price and financial stability objectives. Furthermore, the BSP has implemented extraordinary measures to ensure ample liquidity in the financial system, restore financial market functioning, and shore up market confidence. These measures include a mix of decisive monetary policy adjustments and regulatory relief and forbearance measures. We note, however, that the BSP did not use unconventional monetary policies, including quantitative easing. Our liquidity-enhancing measures in response to the COVID-19 pandemic have remained largely in line with the definition of conventional monetary policy. The BSP's provisional advances to the national government is a temporary bridge financing mechanism to support the national government's broad-based pandemic response programs. This financing is capped, time-bound, and authorized under the BSP Charter in total. Further, in total, the BSP's policy and liquidity easing measures has injected 2.2 trillion pesos, or 12.3% of GDP. Now, at this point, let me share with you sectoral updates on the BSP's policy measures to support these sectors. Focusing now on the country's micro, small, and medium enterprises. Most firms lacked the funds necessary to maintain their businesses after the lockdown. This is especially true for smaller firms. Due to the vital role of MSMEs in the Philippine economy. The BSP has deployed a wide range of policies and regulatory and relief measures to support them. This includes the innovative measure to allow loans to MSMEs as alternative compliance with BSP's reserve requirement. This is available to banks or non-banks with quasi-bank functions from April 24, 2020 to December 29, 2022. As of the week of June 17, 2021, the banking system allocated an average of 183.9 billion loans for MSMEs as alternative compliance with the reserve requirements. This level is significantly higher from the 8.7 billion average MSME loans that we reported for the week ending April 30, 2020. The latest level is equivalent to 12.6% of the total loan reserves, up from 0.6% on April 30, 2020. The Monetary Board also temporarily reduced the risk weights of loans granted to MSMEs. Additionally, the implementation of the revised risk-based capital framework for banks was deferred from end 2021 to end 2022, and the period of relief on the reporting of past due and non-performing loans to borrowers affected by the COVID-19 was also extended to December 31, 2021, from the original timeline of March 8, 2021. These policy issuances reinforce BSP's earlier pronouncement that relaxed the Know Your Customer requirements for retail clients to facilitate their access to formal financing channels. Now, the MSMEs are also supported in the following ways. One, promotion of innovative financing mechanisms. Under this approach, the BSP supports the development of supply chain financing, or the SCF, which allows businesses to turn receivables and inventory flows as well as supply chain relationships to working capital. This enables MSMEs with no credit history to secure favorable terms of bank financing based on the creditworthiness of their large corporate buyers. Second, improvement of digital and financial infrastructure by addressing the risk and cost issues that have made lending to MSME and agriculture a high risk and low margin proposition. The BSP is also working to develop a credit risk database for the Philippines and actively promotes the Credit Surety Fund, or the CSF. This is a credit enhancement scheme which aims to give MSMEs access to non-collateral bank financing by way of surety cover issued jointly and severally by the parties of the CSF. And third, bridging the information and data gap for more evidence-based policymaking and address information asymmetry in the market. The BSP is facilitating strategic partnerships to facilitate information sharing. Now, let me share with you the way forward for the BSP. The country's recovery prospects hinges largely on the credible management of the health crisis. Recent vaccination data show that the vaccination program is significantly ramping up. From about 1.5 vaccinated persons per 100,000 population in April, there are now around 8.8 vaccinated persons per 100 population as of July 12. The rising number of vaccinated Filipinos is a precursor for the economy to recover from the pandemic. To address the risk of economic scarring, the government has designed a recovery package supporting the safe reopening of the economy, the Bayanihan 2, the 2020 budget, the 2021 and 2022 budgets, as well as several legislative measures in the pipeline. For example, number one, the Financial Institutions Strategic Transfer Act was passed in January 2021. This act is aimed at encouraging the private sector, government financial institutions, and government-owned or controlled corporations to incorporate and invest in fist corporations and help in the rehabilitation of distressed businesses, thereby contributing to economic growth. Number two, the recently passed Corporate Recovery and Tax Incentives for Enterprises Act, or CREATE, will lower corporate income tax. The tax savings may be used by the MSMEs to fund their operations and retain employees. Third, the proposed Government Financial Institutions Unified Initiatives to Distressed Enterprises for Economic Recovery, or GUIDE, expands the loan assistance program with discounting and other credit accommodation facilities of government financial institutions to help MSMEs cope with the effects of COVID-19. The global recovery is increasing, which should have positive implications for the country's economic rebound. In their latest Global Outlook report, the World Bank raised its full-year economic growth projections for 2021 relative to its initial forecast in January 2021. The upward revision reflects the stronger than projected economic recovery across regions, due mainly to expectations of wider vaccine availability, as well as the impact of additional fiscal response in the US. In advanced economies, the projected recovery is due to widespread vaccination, reopening of more economies, and sustained monetary policy accommodation. Meanwhile, the growth outlook in emerging economies and developing economies is projected to recover at a faster rate as higher commodity prices and improving external demand underpin the recovery of lost economic output. However, significant downside risks remain as new COVID variants, uneven vaccine access, and partial withdrawal of fiscal support moderate aggregate consumption and investment in emerging markets and developing economies. In any case, we are optimistic that there is sufficient support for the country's recovery this year and in the near term. The easing restrictions alongside improvements in the health sector, revitalization of key industries to be supported by structural reforms, and an improving global economy should help GDP to recover in 2021 and accelerate in 2022. Consistent with expectations of a stronger global economic rebound this year, the growth forecast for goods exports is raised to 8% for 2021. Meanwhile, goods imports is seen to grow by 12%. Overseas Filipino remittances are seen to remain resilient, supported by the reopening of destination countries this year and next year. Moreover, the positive outlook for remittances should help support the build-up in the country's gross international reserves. In fact, according to Moody's Investor Service, the Philippines' fiscal metrics are stronger than its peers, despite the effect of the pandemic. In a fresh report released on Monday, Moody's said, and I quote, "The Philippines has sustained its position compared with rating peers because of the strengthening of its fiscal metrics ahead of the pandemic shock," unquote. Nevertheless, the country's road to recovery will not be easy. We will continue to monitor recent developments here and abroad and assess their impact on the inflation outlook, financial stability, and growth. The BSP remains committed to staying the course amid the COVID pandemic by first, maintaining price stability, second, ensuring financial sector soundness and stability, third, strengthening resilience against external shocks, and finally, supporting the national government's whole of government approach in addressing the current crisis and ensuring stronger recovery post-COVID. Moreover, the BSP expects inflation to settle within the government's target for 2021 up to 2023. The BSP's latest baseline inflation forecasts are 4% this year and 3% for 2022 and 2023. However, we expect inflation to decelerate close to the midpoint of the target range by the fourth quarter of this year due to the government supply-side interventions in addressing shortages of select food items. The risks to the inflation outlook appear to be broadly balanced for 2021 up to 2023. The uptick in global commodity prices due to strong global demand amid supply chain bottlenecks, the impact of easing of quarantine measures, and stronger global growth could pose upside risk to inflation. In contrast, downside risks emanate from the spread of new COVID-19 variants, which might delay the easing of containment measures and dampen domestic economic growth. To summarize, let me share with you some of the key points that I wish to highlight. High-frequency indicators suggest that the economy is gradually recovering from the adverse effects of the pandemic. But it would appear that the recovery is slower than previously anticipated. As such, the BSP will maintain its accommodative stance for as long as necessary to support and sustain the economy's recovery. Inflation expectations remain anchored within the policy horizon. The BSP is mindful that headline inflation is currently above the government's target range due to transitory factors. We reiterate that increases in prices owing to supply shocks are best dealt with by supply-side interventions. The government's recovery package, accelerated vaccine rollout, and rising foreign demand are necessary to further support domestic economic activities. Additional fiscal spending is critical in sustaining the recovery, as well as preventing the long-term scarring effects of the pandemic. However, emerging variants pose downside risk to the growth outlook. Let me end this speech with the words of the late US President John F. Kennedy. Quote, "We are not here to curse the darkness, but to light the candle that can guide us through the darkness to a safe and sane future." Unquote. This is precisely what we hope to achieve as we navigate the dark that is the COVID-19 pandemic. While recovery will not be easy, I hope that the country's whole of government approach will provide enough light to lead us to a brighter future at the end of this dark tunnel. Thank you.
All right, so thank you very much, Governor Benamin E. Jokno, Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, Governor. So great to hear that the Philippine economy is witnessing some indication of rebound, but indeed, the Delta variant is posing a serious threat. Now, our next speaker and reactor, he is the President and CEO of the Philippine National Bank, President of the Bankers Association of the Philippines, and he was President and CEO of HSBC Philippines from 2012 to 2018. So while at the helm of PNB, the bank received several awards and accolades. One of them cited as by the ASEAN Capital Markets Forum as one of the recipients of the ASEAN Asset Class Award, one of the awardees of the ACGS Golden Arrow Award for 2019, recognized by the Asian Banker as Best Managed Bank during COVID-19 and Best CEO Response to COVID-19 in the Philippines, and also awarded by Asia Money as the Best Bank for Corporate Social Responsibility. Let's all welcome the President and CEO of Philippine National Bank, Mr. Jose Arnulfo Wick Veloso.
Maraming salamat, Ray. Ladies and gentlemen, a pleasant morning to all of you. Ako'y nagagalak at ako'y naimbitahan dito sa Manila Times 2021 Midyear Economic Report together with our Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas Governor Ben Diokno, Aftab Ahmed, Country Head and Country Officer of City Philippines, Dante Clink Ang, President and CEO of Manila Times. Next slide, please. I will share with you the following points today. First is financial inclusion, followed by digitization and customer experience, cybersecurity, and economic outlook for the last 2 quarters of 2021. Next slide, please. When I was given the opportunity to lead the Bankers Association of the Philippines, I had a chat with our Managing Director, Ben Castillo, and I told Ben, there are a number of legacy items that we have to pursue, and there are also other items that I want us to hopefully fix and finish during my term. There is something very close to my heart called financial inclusion. Sabi ni Ben, I totally agree. As a matter of fact, that is a project that we have been espousing for the longest time. Sabi ko, partner, the mere fact that you call it financial inclusion, baka tayo-tayo lang na nakakaintindi. Naiintindihan ba ito ng ating mga kababayang Pilipino? Pag tayo ba, pumunta tayo sa gitna ng Divisoria at sinabi natin sa ating mga nagkakalakal, financial inclusion, baka tignan tayo noon at tanungin ano ba pinagsasabi nitong mga naka-Amerikanang ito at meron daw silang tinatawag na financial inclusion na makakabuti para sa ating lahat. Our Secretary of Education, the former Treasurer of the Philippines, Lynn Briones, shared with me, kung gusto mo makita kung ano itsura ng mahirap, tignan mo ang kanilang sapatos. Kadalasan, pag ikaw ay mahirap, makikita mo sa pag nakakaharap mo mahirap kadalasan dahil sa kanilang pinanggalingan, ang kanilang sapatos ay madudumi. When I joined Philippine National Bank, having worked with an international organization, an international financial institution for close to 25 years, I have never seen such an example. At dito ko sinabi sa sarili ko, kailangan meron tayong magawa para matulungan ang ating mga kababayang Pilipino. Para sa mga nakapag-open ng account, hawak-hawak nila ang passbook nila. At pag tinatanong ko, nag-branch visit ako, why are you clutching your passbook? Sabi ko, pwede na ho online yan. Ang kanilang kasagutan, ito lang ang aking pinanghahawakan sa tanging pera na aking hawak at naipunda. And clearly, if we need to have banking for all, we need to understand each and every needs of depositors and even of borrowers. I am fortunate to be part in my former institution for Teach for the Philippines. On the other hand, kung meron ka mga depositor na hawak-hawak ang kanilang passbook, meron ka mga borrowers katulad ng mga guro, nagtuturo sa public school, and Teach for the Philippines allowed me to have a very clear insight as to what's happening inside the classroom. Ang ating mga guro, ang siyang nagpopondo, chalk, eraser, bumbilya. Kung gusto mo mainit at gusto mong electric fan, sila ang bibili ng electric fan. At yung kanilang meager income, manghihiram pa sila para lang matustusan ang kanilang personal na pangangailangan. And I find it really difficult to swallow that these individuals that form the core of the country's education for us to be strong are caught in this very vicious trap. These are the things that I hope we will be able to fix. If I'm unable to fix it during my term, I hope the next generation of leaders, of bankers that we have will continue to help them. Next slide, please. The Philippines remains to be one of the nations with the lowest banking penetration rates in the world. In 2019, the number of unbanked Filipino adults was estimated at 51.2 million, a huge number out of a total adult population of 72 million. In the latest survey of the BSP on financial inclusion in 2019, 53% of adult Filipinos are savers, with most of them saving at home. The survey showed that while account ownership has improved in the last 2 years, more than 2/3 of Filipinos still lack access to a formal bank account. Tinutulungan tayo ng Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas para mapadali ang pagbukas ng account with only 5 important steps and minimal documentation. Ngunit, pag ikaw ay pumunta sa probinsya, sa countryside, ang isang government-issued ID ay isang pangarap. Maghahanap ka ng pasaporte ni isa man lang sa kanila, hindi pa nga nakabiyahe papuntang Maynila. Maghahanap ka ng driver's license, anong imamaneho lang driver's license? Yung kalabaw ba, kailangan mo ng driver's license? At hahanapan natin sila ng ganitong mga identification. That is why both the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas and the Bankers Association of the Philippines are working hand in hand to make all of these things easy. The national ID is going to really push this agenda of banking more Filipinos. A positive development of the pandemic is that it pushed efforts to bank more Filipinos through the digital platform as they open bank accounts to receive cash assistance from the government. In December 2020, the BSP reported that about 4 million new accounts were opened from March to April of last year, following the government's pandemic relief program. Clearly, this is a step in the right direction towards financial inclusion. Para sa mga kasama ko rito na hindi namamalengke, I would like to share with you. I go to farmers market. The farmers market is in Cubao, Quezon City. At ang isda sa farmers market, bumabagsak dyan ng 2:00 ng hapon. So that means those that come from the various ports arrive there at 2 p.m. And around noon, you already see the loan sharks. Nagbubulong-bulong, bigyan mo ko ng 50 mil para dito sa 5 banyera ng isda. Mayang 8:00 ng gabi, yung 50 mil is 65,000, minsan 70,000. Okay, finish or not finish, pagdating ko ng gabi, bigay mo sa akin. Pag magandang record mo, bukas ng umaga bago magsimula ang ating negosasyon ng 2:00, ibalik mo sa akin ang pera. Titignan ko kung mapapahiram kita uli, depende sa pera. Ay sinasabi natin, this can easily be done by the banks. But how can you do it? O pinag-aral kita, anak, sa isang reputable na paaralan, na sinabi mo, nagtratrabaho ka sa bangko, nasa Philippine National Bank ka, masayang-masaya ka, proud ka. Nung tinanong kita, saan ka nagtratrabaho? Nakita ka raw sa loob ng palengke. Anak, hindi kita pinag-aral para mapunta at mag-transaksyon sa loob ng palengke. Clearly, if we want to change how we can bank other Filipinos and merchandise, we need to also make sure that we address how the competitors of banks do their business. Because unless we change and continue to be working inside the comforts of our offices and do not get to go to where the customers are, those informal banking sectors are going to just lord it over. Next slide, please. Everyone believes that banking should be made as accessible as possible. This includes making it easier for Filipinos to open an account, such as allowing them to apply online and making it easier to comply with documentary requirements. The authorities see that Filipinos will benefit from new digital bank players offering more affordable financial products and customized financial solutions that are responsive to the diverse and changing needs of the market. We are going to see a future where your mobile phone is going to be the big instrument for you to do all of your financial transactions, including getting retail mortgage, retail auto, and even the point of you furnishing your own room, your own living room, your own kitchen, taking a picture, measuring the sizes, shopping for the furnitures are all going to be done online. Next page. Another opportunity that we see with this shift to digital is that it will hasten the integration of the physical and digital processes. The more data is collected from physical processes, the more this will be used to enhance risk assessment, validate identities, and optimize distribution. We should likewise enhance our credit risk profiling for those who work in the informal sector, especially the unbanked population, so we can serve their financial needs. Bank may offer better terms than informal lenders, such as lower interest rates and the option of renegotiating how you can pay your loan as long as they're able to assess properly the credit. Habang pinag-aaralan ko itong negosyo na ito, I went to Vietnam and took a look at how the retail lending operation work. Pag ikaw pumunta ka sa isang two-wheeler shop sa Ho Chi Minh, ang lalapit sa iyo ay hindi na ang representative ng motorsiklo. Ang pupunta sa iyo ay isang representative ng finance company. Meron siyang hawak na tablet. Sasabihin sa iyo, Mr. Juan de la Cruz, ikaw ba'y taga Ho Chi Minh? Yes, interesado ka ba rito? Kasi kung hindi ho kayo taga Ho Chi Minh, please take note na meron kayong 30% down payment to purchase this two-wheeler. Ang tao, pag nagustuhan niya yung two-wheeler vehicle, sabi niya, ito gusto ko, bibigay ang kanyang pangalan, hihingi ng national ID, pag-click sa kanyang tablet, within 2 minutes, sasabihin na agad ng ahente, Sir, you are eligible to purchase this motorcycle. Pwede nyo na hong iuwi. Because of technology, they are now able to consummate the transaction within 15 minutes end-to-end. Sa loob ng 6 na buwan, using data, using your payment history, pinag-aaralan ka ng finance company, at kung ikaw ay nakakabayad ng regular, bibigyan ka na ngayon ng credit card. The moment you're able, after 6 months, to continue to pay your credit card without any failure dun sa interest mo, ang susunod ngayon, tatawag na sa'yo, Juan de la Cruz, are you good to borrow? Clean with this significant amount, milyon-milyon na pwedeng pahiram. And if in the event there are non-performing loans, they have data scientists, data engineers to be able to put together the proper risk profiling. Ang baba ng NPL. Why? Because they're able to assess using technology. Okay? Those are customized financial solutions. Okay, so aside from loans and deposits, banks should also highlight investment options to Filipinos. Next slide, please. The lesson in the past year is that changes are not slowing down anytime soon. The goal now is not just to survive the so-called new normal, but to thrive. We all want our teams or organizations in our economy in shape so we can capture the opportunities of the recovery up ahead. This is the time for us to work as a team, as one financial community in support of the Philippine economy. For me, the key takeaway is about customer experience. Customer experience, next slide please, is about giving Juan de la Cruz the opportunity to work remotely, to be where he wants to be while at the same time doing his business. We've seen a 30% drop in bank footprint. And more of the financial institutions are connecting the jigsaw puzzle of ensuring that their customers are connected digitally. And those who are unable to put this end-to-end will eventually be eaten alive by those that are able to make the customer experience happen. Ang ating mga OFWs, let me share with you what we're doing in PNB. OFWs natin, kinoconnect natin dito sa mga recipients. Ang mga OFWs ngayon ay pwede nang magbayad diretso sa eskwelahan para imbes na ibigay ko sa aking anak na recipient dito sa Manila, dito sa Surigao, pwede kong ibigay ngayon diretso sa eskwelahan na panghulog ng matrikula. Wala nang risk na magastos sa ibang pamamaraan. If I want to surprise you with a Sunday Jollibee meal, I can order straight from Jollibee and it will be delivered in your footsteps. Ang amortization natin para sa health insurance, binabayaran ko using my mobile phone. Ang aking gas or electric bill at ang aking water bill, diretso kong binabayaran using my mobile phone. Yan ang customer experience. Yung dating pangarap ni BSP Governor Peng Buenaventura to consolidate the banking sector, nahirapan siyang gawin when he was governor, but because of this change in development technology, the consolidation of the banks will happen because those who are able to provide customer experience, unfortunately, are not going to survive. Next slide. There's one thing that keeps me awake at night, cyber security. So as we push into digitization, as we push into making the customer experience the best, cybersecurity is something that we really need to be focused on. The industry must be able to take into consideration the various risks. Pag ikaw pumunta ka sa Japan, pumunta ka sa US, pumunta ka sa Singapore, pumunta ka sa mga advanced economies, sinabi mo, pwede ba akong makakuha ng fake ID? Titignan ka, sabihin sa'yo, what are you talking about? Sophisticated criminal ka para makahanap ng fake ID. Unfortunately, kailangan natin matanggal itong mga nagmamanufacture ng fake ID dito sa Pilipinas. Yan ang tinatawag na recto ID, Recto Avenue ID. Ang pinakamahirap dito, and this is where I would like the rest of us, especially in PNB, to focus on. Hanggang ngayon, hindi ko pinapalusot yung end-to-end na KYC. Madaling makakuha ng ID si Juan de la Cruz. At yung technology, pag hindi niya na-capture na fake yung ID, na mas malaki ang problema. We must have a common platform to provide these bad actors by proactively identifying and keeping them out. Isang umaga nagising ako. Napakarami kong Facebook account. Akala ko okay na, nung pinaimbestigahan ko, 175, iba-ibang pangalan, picture ko, nandun ang Philippine National Bank. Pasabi ko, abang klase. And there are some messages coming to me and saying that I'm transacting on behalf. Okay? Humihingi ng pera and so on and so forth. First, got in touch with Facebook. Sabi, masyado kaming marami pang mga priorities at iintindihin namin to, pero unahin muna namin yung ibang mga problema na meron kami. Pumunta kami sa pulis. Akala mo ba pagka nagkaroon ka ng cybercrime, next slide please, pagka nagkaroon ka ng cybercrime, akala mo ba na para itong nagkaroon ka ng traffic accident? Pumunta ka, magkaroon ka ng traffic accident, kahit anong presinto, alam na nila. Yung gagawa ng police report, picture ng aksidente, kabisado. Dito, kailangan mong pumunta sa PNP Cybercrime Office. O kung ikaw nandoon ka sa remote areas, pupunta ka ng crime, pre-report ka sa PNP Cybercrime Office. May option ka, pumunta ka sa NBI. So pagka nasa probinsya ka, naiintindihan ba nila kung ano ibig sabihin na pagpunta all the way to Taft Avenue? O pwede ka rin pumunta dito sa Department of Justice, o pupunta ka sa DOJ sa Manila coming from the province to complain. Ngayon, if in the event nagawa mo yan, pumunta ka sa piskal, you know, meron kaming example, the fiscals are not even prepared to handle and understand what the issue is all about. Ang sitwasyon dito, you know, this is going to be the biggest problem for financial institutions. O ngayon, tignan mo, ang daming consumers nagre-reklamo about phishing, nagre-reklamo about this information that got lost, stolen, and all of a sudden, nawawala ang kanilang pera, nawawala ka na. Kailangan talagang magkaroon ng Magna Carta. Ano bang responsibilidad ng bangko? Ano ba responsibilidad ng mamamayan? Kasi hindi naman kami ang receptacle ng lahat ng problemang ito. But isa ang kailangang mangyari. Sa isang corner, in one corner of a coffee shop, or there is in one corner of a room, you see a geek, a nerd with a laptop, all the while you think how ignorant, innocent they are, but they can be pulling out the big heist. The problem is, we are not even able to track them down and even put them to jail. That is why it is important for both the Bankers Association of the Philippines and the government to work together to equip the police to investigate, to equip the law enforcers and those in the justice system to be able to pin down all of these bad actors. Otherwise, we are all going to be victims. The moment one of you loses money in your digital transaction, that's the end of it. Trust and confidence will erode and everybody will go back to using cash. That is why we need to do and exert effort to fix this. Because until today, this remains a problem. For example, the BAP formed the Cybersecurity Committee in 2020 as a forum wherein banks can come together and discuss strategies and how they can deter cyber criminals and how to ensure everyone will be safe in cyberspace. To further enhance the collaboration of the banking industry, the BAP Cybersecurity Incident Database was created as an intelligence sharing network for banks to share cybersecurity practices with their peers. The BAP also launched Cyber Safe campaign to raise awareness of the different kinds of cyber crimes and what Filipinos can do to protect themselves against cyber criminals. To execute this, we leverage the power of social media, given that Filipinos spend a significant amount of their time online. We created a YouTube channel to make short and easy to understand videos for viewers to learn more about cybersecurity. In addition to these videos, the BAP also regularly posts online articles on topics related to cybersecurity. These articles are released every Wednesday and Sunday, thus regularly providing the Filipino public with sufficient information on what they can do to protect themselves. It's about time probably for us to review and use the vernacular and dialects for our Filipinos or kababayan Filipinos to also understand them. The BAP, together with its members, is at the forefront of promoting cybersecurity. We are using new technologies to defend our systems and stay ahead of the cyber criminals. We are working closely with our regulator, the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas, and authorities to address this. There's a very big threat to us. Kaming mga bangko, may bagong batas ang National Privacy Commission. 5% of our gross revenue should be paid if data is stolen. Now, meron tayong mga ganyan mga batas, but we don't have enough teeth to go after these cyber criminals. Yan ang ating gustong ma-achieve. Next slide. Economic outlook. The governor already shared and presented a very clear economic outlook earlier on. Next slide. Gusto ko lang ibahagi sa inyo. Bantayan ninyo ang number of infections in the US, bantayan nyo in advanced economies, bantayan nyo locally at malalaman mo ang direksyon ng ekonomiya. When all the while our currency was trading sub 48, 47, 60, 47, 50 levels, within 1 month it jumped to 50 levels, and that is for a very simple reason. The threat of the US economy rebounding and inflation rising due to supply constraints. Daming mga supply, ang dami mga kliyente not only overseas but also here. Maraming kulang ng supply because of the lockdown. It's really a supply issue. So lumipat ang pera sa US, tatanggal sa mga emerging market countries kaya nag-depreciate ang peso. Pag lahat ng mga iyan makita nila na mahina na naman ang ekonomiya ng US, mag-appreciate na naman yan. Yung stock market natin bumabagsak ngayon, primarily because hindi maintindihan. Dahil naman ba katagal itong bagong lockdown na sinasabi lang mangyayari ng August 6 at ano pa ba ang mangyayari going forward with the Delta variant. Next slide. The industry, okay, is going to remain resilient. The governor already highlighted all the points. The Philippines has got a the banking system is resilient, strongly capitalized, very liquid. And the BSP has provided all the support to make sure that we go over these challenges. But for us to also help our fellow MSMEs, aside from what the governor has mentioned, we need to think outside the box on how to be able to help them. Hindi namin kaya magpahiram ng magpahiram kung kami ay kakaltasan din ng kapital at aming profitability para magpahiram sa mga negosyong nasalanta nitong pandemic. At kung gusto nating makatulong lalo sa mga nahihirapan, we need those other outside of the box approaches. So I hope I'm able to share with you our thoughts about the first half. The second half of 2021 clearly is all about how does this infection go further. One thing is certain, I hope the more vaccines we have, once you get sick, it is not going to be as bad as how it was during the start of the pandemic. Marami pong salamat sa inyong lahat. Mabuhay ang bayang Pilipinas.
Thank you, Mr. Jose Arnulfo Wick Veloso, President and CEO of Philippine National Bank and President of Bankers Association of the Philippines. Indeed, Mr. Wick Veloso, customer experience is key during this time of pandemic when all services are becoming digital. Now, based on the comprehensive update of the economy from the governor, likewise from Mr. Wick Veloso, we have requested our next speaker to focus on digital. So our speaker will talk about digitization, emerging global trends, and cities strategy globally, regionally, and locally. Our next speaker is the City Country Officer or CCO for the Philippines. Prior to this, he was CCO and CEO for Hungary and region head for Hungary and the Balkan and Baltic regions in Central and Eastern Europe. He started his career with Citi as an executive trainee after getting an MBA. He has extensive U.S. and international experience in the banking sector. His career with the bank spans 11 countries. He has also been involved with Citi franchises in a number of other countries through cluster management leadership positions. His broad breadth of experience covers multiple disciplines, including business banking, corporate banking, correspondent banking, consumer finance, distribution, operations and technology, treasury, and country management. Let's all welcome the country head and City Country Officer of Citibank, Mr. Aftab Ahmed.
Thank you, Ray, for that introduction. Good morning, Governor Jokno. Good morning, Vic. Good morning, Mr. Dante, and the leadership team at Manila Times. And good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As highlighted by the Governor and Mr. Veloso, certain structural shifts in the global economy are likely to remain in place well after the virus has been contained. Digitization and accelerated digital innovation are highly likely to endure. This development will have a far-reaching impact and will transform the use of technology. The importance of digitization will grow both within the public and private sector, and digital capabilities will be extensively leveraged by banks. Citi strongly supports digitization and innovation with the intent of better serving our clients. Changing customer expectations is resulting in the emergence of more digital operating models and is creating an ever-growing need to deploy new technologies. What this slide highlights is that digital disruption is impacting all industry sectors and that the pace of disruption has accelerated. New business models, emerging technologies, and the increased focus on resilience and sustainability is resulting in every industry rethinking their approach and enhancing the use of digital capabilities. On the left of this diagram are industries which are in the early stage of disruption and include industries such as metals and mining, oil and gas, and agriculture. On the extreme right are industries such as hospitality, travel, and retail that have already been disrupted. In 2021, an estimated 2.1 billion people worldwide are expected to purchase goods online. There are clearly leaders and laggers in this equation. At the nascent stage, there is negligible disruption occurring, and the incumbents are involved in testing digital tools in functional areas. The second bucket talks about approaching tipping point. This segment includes industries that are actively involved in digital experimentation and research with the intent of becoming more digital. Disruptors are just emerging, and there is not enough digital traction in the industry to be able to tell if there's a clear emerging trend in the new models. Industry in turmoil, which includes banking. A shift of disruptive models has gained tremendous momentum. New fintech players are entering the arena and are speeding up the pace of change. This is contributing to traditional models adjusting to emerging trends. And four, disrupted industries include hospitality and travel, where traditional models have already been transformed and digital channels are dominant. The pandemic has accelerated the adoption of digital in our personal and business lives. From the ubiquitous Zoom calls to digital online shopping and schooling. We have observed the emergence of the following digital trends. Change in customer expectations. As a result of mobility restrictions, consumers have gravitated away from brick and mortar stores to digital purchases, boosting the growth of e-commerce. Enhancement of products and services based on data. An example would be providing consumers with purchase recommendations based on past and current spending. And three, another emerging trend is collaboration between market players as they pivot towards increased digitization in their operating models. These digital trends, when enabled by new technologies such as artificial intelligence, robotic process automation, and cloud computing, lead to operational efficiency and resilience. It also creates an opportunity for improved decision-making and improves the probability of success of the new business models. What this slide shows is that we are witnessing a major transition across businesses as they adopt a wide range of technologies to build and grow their franchises, as well as address operational challenges. We are in the midst of an industrial revolution, and the scope and complexity of the transition is unprecedented. This diagram represents Citi's digital diagnostic framework for our institutional clients. The purpose of this framework is to help a client conduct an upfront assessment of their current state of digital maturity versus their desired future state. The framework is structured along 5 key dimensions: strategy, customer journey, process digitization, innovation, and culture. As you would expect, strategy and culture are relevant across all industries, but the degree of relevance of the other 3 pillars will vary depending on the industry involved. Consumer, retail, telecom, and the technology sector often spend more time on the customer journey, whereas industrials or energy clients are very focused on process digitization. However, as industry boundaries blur and new ecosystems emerge, a more holistic approach across all the pillars will be required for most companies. The reason why we feel that this framework is important is because a lot of digital transformation initiatives fail if the approach is purely technology focused. Whilst most digital technologies provide possibilities for efficiency gains and positive client outcomes, what is also required is having the willingness to change existing practices and models, as well as stepping out of the comfort zone. Transformation is clearly evident in the payment space. With the advent of NRPS and the emergence of PesoNet and InstaPay, Citi has endeavored to differentiate its offering to its clients. We complement the electronic account-to-account transfer with digital channels and connectivity. Corporates in the Philippines have been provided with the ability to integrate with the bank for undertaking secure payment transactions. Clients sending payment instructions can do so with a high level of confidence that the payments being made are valid. How is this achieved? Citi Philippines provides the payment outlier detection service that helps flag transactions that are outside the norm and require additional scrutiny prior to payment to prevent fraud. For cross-border payments, where FX transactions require supporting documentation, the client is provided with the option to upload scanned documents onto the platform, thereby enabling efficient compliance and timely disbursement. Citi Payment Insights provides clients with a 360-degree view of selected payments that enables them to track, view status, and action payments. For import payments, where BSP registration is required, we have designed an automated experience for our clients, which involves import registration documents being submitted electronically for Citi to warehouse and advice on payment due date to ensure the supplier payments are made on time. A corporate bank digital strategy in the Philippines. We offer an end-to-end digital experience for our clients, including onboarding, processing, and servicing. At the core of our relationship with clients is the intent for us to be their trusted advisor. Whether they're looking to centralize their treasury function or they're simply looking to be more efficient in their treasury operations, we share with them industry insights and trends, as well as benchmarking information to help them pick the right financial solution. To enable a frictionless banking experience, we are implementing digital client onboarding using a paperless workflow. Once onboarded, our clients are supported in transacting through secure online banking platforms that deliver remote access for work from home. With the biometric login capability, the users are able to access the platform conveniently and securely. Our platform also promotes visibility of payment status with an automated advice sent to payment beneficiaries. Our payment processing is handled on a 96% straight-through processing basis. Any client inquiry that is supported by a digital service model using chatbots or the WalkMe platform guide helps clients to handle inquiries on a self-service basis. Our very high customer satisfaction scores substantiate the client centricity of our services. On the consumer banking front in the Philippines, the consumer bank's digital transformation spans the entire client life cycle, from acquisition to servicing to controls. Our goal is to better serve our clients by ensuring that their banking experience with us is frictionless. To bring acquisition and growth to scale, we have leveraged digital paid media, partnerships, and affiliates to reach our targeted clients. For cards and loans, we have designed a simple and fully digital onboarding process, which enables our customers to obtain a credit decision within approximately 10 minutes. And this happens in Manila. Today, approximately 80% of our credit card applications are processed on a straight-through basis without any human intervention. Citi mobile application and Citibank online platforms are continuously enhanced to meet the needs of our clients with a few clicks. The rich functionality of these platforms dramatically reduces the need to visit branches or call our phone banking service. Both platforms are intuitive, customer-friendly, and very easy to use. Our Net Promoter Score, which measures client satisfaction and the propensity to refer, is the highest it has ever been. Our customers receive relevant and customized offers that are available with a few taps or clicks. Today, approximately 70% of all services are accessed through these digital channels. With these capabilities, most clients don't find the need to call us to get service. But in case they do call, we have made it easier for them through leveraging technology. Additionally, speech analytics allows us to identify trends and concerns and proactively address them. Embedded in our process is Always Teach Digital, which involves our providing tutorials to clients so that they can handle their future banking needs on a digitized basis. We've also extended digitization to our operations, including controls. Some of the things that we have automated include using digital monitoring tools and automating fraud alerts to ensure clients are notified quickly for any transaction needing validation. In summary, as the digital landscape continues to evolve and transform many facets of banking, Citi remains highly committed to playing a leadership role in the emerging digital ecosystem. Our digital focus and initiatives are closely aligned with the governors and the central bank's digital priorities. We're strongly committed to leveraging emerging technologies. We're strongly committed to differentiating as well as enhancing our mobile platform. And we are strongly committed to remaining highly engaged on the financial inclusion front. The alignment of our strategy with that of BSP is also evidenced by the following facts. We are the #1 bank in terms of peso net value handle. Not number of transactions, but value handle. Citi is the sole settlement bank for the Philippines domestic dollar transfer system. And we are very actively involved with the Philippine Payments Management Inc., or PPMI. In closing, I would also like to thank Manila Times. Thank you, Mr. Dante, and your team, for the opportunity to share our perspective on emerging digital trends, as well as our digital transformation strategy and the progress achieved. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Ray, you're on mute.
Yeah, thank you, Aftab. No. We will now proceed to our Q&A. All our questions will be directed to Mr. Wick Veloso, who will answer in the capacity as the President of the Bankers Association of the Philippines. And joining me is Mr. Dante Clink-Ang, the President and CEO of the Manila Times. So welcome again, Wick and Clink.
Thank you, Ray. Wick, very, very brave of you to take on all of the questions today on behalf of all of the speakers. Thank you for stepping up to do that. I don't know if it was by consent or without consent, but anyway, what, Mr. Ahmed mentioned, of course, digitization, and this is related also to what you mentioned about cybersecurity, and I wanted to ask you about that. We've been hearing in the news for the past several months the rise of ransomware that has been hitting the United States firms and elsewhere. And you mentioned that your greatest fear is, possibly encountering some nerd in a coffee shop and without knowing he is already infiltrating some system in the some banking financial system. But we see in the news that many of the perpetrators of these crimes these days are state-sponsored. BBC, for example, reported about Bureau 121 from North Korea, and of course, from the US, they're talking about Russian firms and Chinese firms. You mentioned also that BAP is doing something, but my question is, what interventions would you like to see from the government to make our system more secure? Because obviously this is going to be the trend from here on, and because of the pandemic has been accelerated. But what other interventions would you like to see?
Clint, you already have laws on cyber security. The challenge that we face is that when someone is faced with a cyber crime, it is important for them to be able to easily go to the nearest police, be able to complain, have the ability for the police to understand what the issue is all about without the need for you to go far and away in Metro Manila, go to go to the Department of Justice, and be able to explain your situation. The police should be able to put together cohesively the complaint, allow you to file an affidavit, allow you then to go to the fiscal, and the fiscal should be able to clearly interpret what are the laws that the perpetrator was able to do. Now, once all of these are intact, hopefully, it's also the judges, the judiciary should be very familiar with all of these things. Now comes the government, because if these are state-sponsored, we can only do as much. And I'm optimistic that our government do understand that they are very important in fixing if these are other state-sponsored crimes, as you have mentioned. Without any of the perpetrators fearing that his neck is being chased, they will just continue. You need to be able to demonstrate that once you do cybercrime, you are going to be caught, you are going to be punished, you are going to regret it.
How ready are we to offer those protection to consumers? I mean, relative to say, and I'm sure, of course, Singapore will be up there, but how do we fare in terms of safety from cybersecurity crimes perpetrated by individuals or by states?
I would rather say that we are, just entering the stage of being familiar with mobile banking, with using technology, and unfortunately, some of us are not familiar about just clicking an information which claims to be coming from Bank A, and all of a sudden it was not really Bank A. And then you just lost your information. And before you know it, your money is gone. So what are we arranging? We're arranging for us to have a Magna Carta. What is it that is the bank's responsibility? And what is it that you, as a depositor or a user of the system, is responsible for? Okay? Because we cannot just be responsible for everything as a bank.
Right.
There should be also a responsibility on the end of our consumers, our users of our facility, to know, okay, what is right. I cannot just sell you a car and just blame the car manufacturer if all of a sudden you hit someone else. There must be a sharing of responsibility, but more so, as I've always mentioned earlier, you need to prevent these bad actors from penetrating the market. And it's important for the laws and our law enforcers to really chase them. And hopefully, I don't know what should we be doing. Should they be incentivized? Okay. The moment I say incentivized, then come other questions. Do you also incentivize those who do chase after other kinds of crimes?
It's complicated.
Yeah. But one thing is certain. You cannot just allow them to go scot-free. You cannot just allow them to operate in the dark web and don't feel that nobody's chasing them. They need to feel that the long arm of the law is going to catch up on them.
Right. Well, maybe offline later on we can pursue this topic further, because maybe the Manila Times and the Bankers Association can do maybe on the part of the public awareness campaign, right? Maybe we can talk about that. But just pushing this topic a little bit further. There has been, of course, an increase in digital transactions because of the pandemic. people at home. And of course, before the pandemic, we were already seeing, the popularization of cryptocurrencies, particularly Bitcoin. And then recently, of course, we're seeing now central bank digital currencies being developed primarily in China and elsewhere. I know that Banco Central was sort of experimenting with its own system.
Digital currency.
Yeah, but it was in a pilot project. But I was wondering if you can update us on what you may have heard about how far we are in actually pursuing that digital currency from central bank.
There has been no discussion yet between the Bankers Association of the Philippines and the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas. We've initiated a quarterly meeting with them together with the executive committee of the association, the governor, and his key team. I'll keep you updated because that is a very good development.
Because part of course, is very interesting. With the Bitcoin, of course, operating outside of the regulatory realm of central banks, and with the increase in digital transactions, it's not far-fetched to imagine how other companies may now behave like banks. You have telcos like Globe and Smart, offering some sort of remittance systems. There are other companies that are trying to enter that sphere, and so. I don't know. Is the central bank or Banco Central able to capture those new players, because they are in a sense not yet in your industry, but they behave as in a way like competitors to the formal banks, right?
Yes, they do. The electronic money issuers are covered and are being regulated by the Philippine Payments Management Incorporated. So it's an umbrella arm. It's a SRO, self-regulating organization to ensure that those that are involved in payments are covered. People should really understand that if you go and operate these kind of things, you should be in one way or another be covered and be regulated. Otherwise, the harm to the clients or to the public is something that the government will always be interested to take care of. So it's something that other providers probably forgot. There was one, without mentioning names, was unable to get the necessary approvals. The approvals are necessary. It's for the government and the regulator to know what you've been doing to ensure that they can take a look whether the public is protected.
Yeah, so I with what you said earlier, that and with Governor Jokno saying, they're relaxing some of the KYC requirements. Are you satisfied with the balance that's being reached here, with making it more accessible, so that we have fewer people unbanked, but at the same time gather enough information so that we adequately protect consumers?
Yeah, Clint, it's we're fortunate that the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas is very open to this. As a matter of fact, they opened a new body in the Bangko Sentral under Deputy Governor Mert, who takes a look at the payments, currencies, and the like. Now, what we in the banking system, because how Citi operates their own digital payment portal, how Bank A, how PNB operates now depends on their own. So now it's up to you how you're going to ensure that you onboard a proper customer. It is now your responsibility to make sure that whoever you're on board is clean, because they are now going to be officially, able to join the web of clean financial transactors. You're now going to be given an ability to operate through the payment system and have a name that allows you to be able to transact. if we're unable to fully screen you and allow you to be a participant, and unfortunately you are not a real individual based on the name or details that you have submitted, it's our fault. And that is why it's really very important for each of us to be able to have the right onboarding, whether you use biometrics, whether you use whatever kind of technology. Okay, the prayer is for this to really be foolproof. I've shared with you one of the risks that we have here locally is the, ability to get the fake identification.
Right.
In advanced countries, you cannot get.
Yeah, that's right.
You go to Japan, ask for a fake identification, they look at you. You look like you came from down, 1,000 meters from the core of the earth. Who the hell are you? Okay, in our country, there's no such thing. But unfortunately, from where we are, those are risks that we have to take. So you have to rely on biometrics. Now, in some screening of biometrics, some work, some do not. Especially for those that I really have to see a clear case study, okay, with our chinky-eyed, clients if they are having a difficult time, okay, because it's so easy for their facial features, for example, to be recognized in the same manner. But I have yet to see an actual experience. But those are tales that I do get to hear when those challenges come about. I have yet to see an issue with finger or a thumb mark. I haven't seen any. Retina is something, or maybe it's a combination. But one thing is, let's make it safe. Let's prevent the bad actors for coming in. Yan ang panalangin ko para sa ating Pilipinas. Because, Click, you have to remember, one bad transaction will pull the trust and confidence down, and all of a sudden, people will go back and use cash. Okay, how can we go back to those primitive ways? We just need to make sure that we continue to preserve what we have right now. People can afford to go out of their homes. They're unable to bring their wallet. They feel comfortable. You let them leave the house and they don't have the mobile phone, they start to palpitate. They forget their charger, they start to palpitate. There's no power for them to charge their charger and their mobile phone, they have a heart attack. Okay? So this is how technology has improved our lives. So let us put the trust and confidence, ensure the trust and confidence in the payments system, deposit system, loan system that we all banks are espousing, be supported and protected.
Last question before I turn it over to Ray for your final words. With the increasing number of transactions in the digital sphere, is there a concern about velocity of money and maybe that its impact on inflation? Or is that an old way of thinking things? Or is there a new paradigm that we're looking at in the digital world?
I haven't really seen that concern because clearly, if you take a look at the digital transactions, the velocity of money, this M1, M2, M3 thing that we have in Economics 101 used to have, are nowhere to be seen as a cause of inflation nowadays. And now, the inflation that we face right now, or supply side inflation. So basic question, do you attack a supply side inflation with higher interest rate, therefore further collapsing the economy? Or do you just continue to let money flow and be able to get the economic activity anyway? If it's supply side inflation, things will eventually get to be sorted out. And that's the past experience. 10 taon na, Clicks.
Interesting.
I would like to start to take a look back at all of those economics 101 that we used to have. Oh.
Thank you, Wick. Ray?
Yeah, thank you, Clint. Just one question to Wick. Wick, you mentioned that the vernacular, the local language is important to address this, unbanked issue that we have. Is there any move from the Bankers Association of the Philippines to to convert how we communicate to the grassroots, no? Websites, chatbots, no? Is there any move among the banks?
Well, if there is one thing, yung mga YouTube na ginagawa namin, even if you recall, the way I do get to communicate with you and hopefully it reaches your audience is a way to be able to address the Filipino people. I came from a foreign bank for 25 years, and when I do get to see my target audience where I am, I got to realize na napakaraming Pilipino. Kailangan lang nila maintindihan kung ano bang mensahe. Kadalasan, nagiging komplikado yung mensahe. Parang the more highfalutin, the more intelligent you look like, di ka naman naiintindihan. So, end result, walang nakakaintindi kung saan tayo patungo. Ang objective namin dito, and this is what I would like to do for the Bankers Association in the Philippines, is to encourage more Filipinos to be banked. And if that means for us to be able to understand and send a communication clearly for them to be able to be onboarded, then we will do that. Because you have to take note that it is not only English, but it's also vernacular, especially the local dialects that our kababayans are very familiar in the provinces.
All right, so thank you, Mr. Jose Arnulfo Wick Veloso, President of Philippine National Bank and President of Bankers Association of the Philippines. Thank you, Wick, as well for joining us, and also Klink for joining us in the Q&A. So thank you everyone for joining us. So Governor Jokno spoke about our resilient banking system, and then Wick Veloso spoke about the need to be conscious of cybersecurity, and then Mr. Aftab Ahmed spoke about the digitization and the framework, an interesting framework for their clients. So we thank our co-sponsors, San Miguel Corporation, Yale Track Philippines Inc., Philippine Amusement and Gaming Corporation, or PAGCOR, and special partners Philippine National Bank, Citibank, Union Bank of the Philippines, City Savings Bank, Moneybees, and Hungry Workhorse. So it has been a productive and insightful morning. Thank you for joining us. The Manila Times Midyear Economic Report 2021. Have a good day, everyone.
Maraming salamat sa inyong lahat.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Aftab. Thank you, Wick.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ray.
Thank you, Ray. Thank you.
pa man magsimulang tumigil ang mundo ng dahil sa pandemya, napakadami na namin ginaharap para lang magampanan ang aming tungkulin. Matugunan ang pangangailangan ng nakararami. Simula sa lungkot na dala ng pagsampa hanggang sa iba't ibang klaseng trabaho na dinaranas namin sa araw-araw. Kalakip ang pangako ng magandang bukas. Patuloy kaming babangon para matugunan ang inyong pangangailangan. Patuloy namin iaalay ang aming oras at kakayahan para mapanatili kayong nakangiti. Patuloy kaming maglalayag sa iba't ibang dako ng mundo upang mapanatiling maayos ang inyong kalagayan. Ilan lang kami sa libu-libong manggagawa sa karagatan na nagnanais ng karampatang pagtrato at respeto. Para sa aming napiling larangan, sana sa araw na ito nilaan para sa amin, maisip mo rin kami. Nagmamahal, mga marinong Pilipino.
San Miguel Corporation's Skyway Stage 3 project is a game-changing development that ushers a turning point for Philippine economic growth. Completed under the term of President Rodrigo Roa Duterte, whose leadership and political will paved the way for the resolution of right-of-way issues that once hampered its development, Skyway 3 is a testament to what can be achieved when people work together for the greater good. For SMC President Ramon S. Ang, Skyway Stage 3 gives a much-needed boost to the country's economic outlook in this time of the pandemic and provides a significant impact on a nationwide scale. Stretching 18 kilometers from Buendia, Makati, all the way to the North Luzon Expressway, it fulfills the dream of connecting North and South Luzon. By doing so, it will greatly reduce traffic on EDSA, the country's busiest thoroughfare, and for so many generations, the only link from North and South until today. An engineering marvel dreamed up and built by Filipinos for Filipinos, Skyway Stage 3 is the longest elevated expressway in the country. In an industry first, it also features 3 double-decker sections, an engineering solution to severe limitations to space along some of the densest, busiest parts of the metro. In completing the project, San Miguel Corporation funded the rebuilding of 3 major bridges: the San Juan Bridge, Concordia Bridge, and Sevilla Bridge. Rivers in these areas were dredged and cleaned. With the Skyway Stage 3, travel time from Alabang to the North Luzon Expressway is now just a 30-minute breeze through a high-quality anti-slip asphalt road from the usual 3 hours in traffic along EDSA. Buendia to NLEX will only take 15 minutes. Taken together with the existing Skyway 1 and 2, the Skyway 3 extends the Skyway system to 38 kilometers and now provides access to most major Metro Manila cities. With the upcoming completion of the Skyway Extension Project that will provide direct access from Susana Heights in Muntinlupa, the Skyway system will have a total of 36 access points, making travel more convenient for many Filipinos. Together with the NAIA Expressway, Skyway provides direct connectivity to Muntinlupa, Las Piñas, Parañaque, Pasay, Makati, Manila, San Juan, and Quezon City. Skyway 3 also connects to the C3 Road, providing access to Navotas, Caloocan, Quezon City, San Juan, Makati, and Pasay. More significantly, Skyway 3 bridges the gap between the South Luzon Expressway and North Luzon Expressway, unlocking the true potential of our provinces by further enabling transportation, tourism, and trade. With direct access to more markets, our agriculture sector and many local industries are set to get a major boost from this game-changing infrastructure project. New economic zones and major manufacturing hubs, both in northern and southern Luzon, will also greatly benefit from faster, easier, safer connectivity. San Miguel Corporation's next major infrastructure project, the Pasig River Expressway, which will connect to the Skyway, will complete the north-south and east-west link in Metro Manila. A 19-kilometer elevated expressway along the banks of the Pasig River, Parex will connect Manila to Rizal Province and provide faster alternative access to Makati, Ortigas, and BGC. The project will also realize the long-held dream of cleaning up and rehabilitating the Pasig River. Finally, Skyway 3 is envisioned to connect directly to what will be the Philippines' largest, most modern airport, the Manila International Airport in Bulacan, another game-changing project by San Miguel Corporation. The airport, to be designed and built sustainably, will also be future-proof. It will have 4 parallel runways to eliminate the delays and inefficiencies that have become the norm in Philippine aviation, which have cost both our government and our people billions in opportunity losses. Skyway Stage 3 is a major achievement for Filipinos. As with any major undertaking, it would not have been possible without the support and cooperation of many stakeholders, past and present. In particular, San Miguel Corporation expresses its gratitude to President Rodrigo Duterte for his vision and strong leadership and the support provided by his economic team to ensure its completion, particularly in settling contentious right-of-way issues. SMC also credits DPWH and the Metro Pacific Tollways Group under Mr. Manny V. Pangilinan for making the direct connection to NLEX possible. San Miguel also cites Meralco and National Grid Corporation of the Philippines for their cooperation in enabling the transfer of utility lines, which help pave the way for the project's completion. For San Miguel Corporation, this is just the beginning, as it continues to invest in vital infrastructure projects. This includes the completion of MRT 7, SLEX TR4 and TR5, which will extend all the way to Matnog, Sorsogon, T-Plex extension to Lawag, Ilocos Norte, and the Pasig River Expressway, which connects eastern and western Metro Manila, and making access to our financial districts easier and faster. At this critical time in our country's history, San Miguel Corporation is committed to investing primarily in the Philippines, to accelerate growth and create more jobs, and help build a better future for all.
You asked for it. Now Yale has delivered it. The new Yale MX series. Bring all your material handling needs under control. Optimize productivity. Intelligent ergonomics. Best-in-class serviceability. Substantially lower cost of ownership. Total dependability. Take control with the Yale MX series.
Casino Filipino is one with PAGCOR at the forefront of upholding the Philippine government's nation-building efforts. PAGCOR, together with Casino Filipino, allocates a part of its income for the underprivileged sectors of society. While more than half of the PAGCOR's revenues go to the government, at the end of the day, the real mission is to serve the nation and help build a sustainable future for Filipinos. Together, we create opportunities beyond gaming.
Yan? Nabayaran na ba yung internet?
Yes. At nakabayad na ako ng kuryente at nakapag-transfer na din ako ng sweldo nila ate.
Nag-QR payment na ako para sa lunch date natin mamaya.
Mas madali, mas masasandalan ang bagong PNB Digital App. Download now!
Sa PNB, Philippine National Bank. Sa PNB, Philippine National Bank.
Our love was so beautiful, nothing could tear us apart. A picture of forever and promises made from the heart. But memories fade as time slips away. Where does that leave me and you? Tell me how to love you with no more regrets. I'll cherish these moments I'll never forget.
I'll take you there one day.
Promise?
Promise.
I will always remember for us. So tell me how to love you with no more regrets. Now cherish these moments, the memories you'll never forget. The memories you'll never.
I may sometimes forget you here, but never here.
The memories you'll never